What's up, humans? Welcome back to the Human Music Podcast. I'm Luke Rain, and this is episode 78, Remix Tips and Tricks. It's the remix! We had a question from a YouTube comment from Dead Connection at Dead Connect DJ about remixing. So, this week we dive into why to remix a tune, the different types of remixes, the benefits of each type of remix, and techniques on how to start and complete a remix. We also found a few tools that can help you remix, like tone transfer and splitter. Those links are right down below, along with the song of the week, one we talk about on here. It's a remix from Rip Kenny of 6th Street and Liz Bezler's song, Choose. It's out now. You can go listen to it, check the links. It's also getting re-released soon on the Remix a Dojo Classic EP coming out at the end of October 2021 on the Producer Dojo label. So get those links as well down below and support our sponsors while you're down there. The EDM Cookbook, which is something we talk about in this episode, which is a super dope set of recipes on how to make different types of songs using different approaches. You can also go get Dojo TV for free. It's producer live stream classes from Producer Dojo Senseis, or the weekly download, where you can learn from Il Gates himself in his private weekly group lessons and get access to over 250 more episodes in the archive for just $20 a month. And then guest practices, where you can learn from Seth Drake at the Approach Institute. He's the best engineer we know, and your first class is free over there. All right, go to thehumanmusicpodcast.com for more episodes, socials, and sound packs. Follow us at The Human Music Podcast or at Human Music Pod on Twitter. And now let's get into the episode.
Hello, people of Earth. This is Tesco with Rip Kenny and Trap Jesus, and you're listening to the Human Music Podcast. Woo!
Human Music Podcast. I like it. What's up, humans? Point, 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 point.
Yes, sir. What time is it?
Drop bombs on them. It's human music time, bitch.
Woo! I like it.
Yeah, back for another one. And this time, we're going to talk about remixing. Yeah, buddy.
Remix.
Ever a remix?
Big. It's the remix. DJ
Damn, son,
Khaled.
where'd you find this?
Certified trap classic.
Yeah. Shouts to Slap Silla, who asked us this question on YouTube, asking, actually, pardon me, this is actually Dead Connect. I looked at the wrong question.
Oh, the boy.
Shouts to Dead Connect DJ, who asked,
That's a cool
how to
name.
remix a song to a different genre. And yeah, that's a really good question. Remixes are super dope. They're a great way, to start a song with a face, and not only like a really good face and hook, but one that a lot of people already know, that people might already be scouring SoundCloud and YouTube looking for a remix of either, that hot new song or maybe their favorite classic, right? So there's a lot of like built-in bonuses and benefits to doing remixes, right? Like, obviously doing all original shit is great. We all do it, but sometimes, doing a remix, it just, gets you there quicker. It's something you could really, set off your DJ set with, it'd be a great opener when you like drop that tune that everybody knows the chorus to, and they're immediately all locked in. And then you flip it on them. And they're like, oh shit, I've never heard this before. And that contrast between like, I have heard this and I love it, and I've never heard it turn into that is so powerful. I've lost my damn mind in so many shows over remixes. Some cynics could be like, oh, it's kind of cheap, it's blah, 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 but I don't give a fuck. Why work harder than you need to? Shit's hard enough to produce a song, and if your remix slaps, you did the hard work.
I mean, at the end of the day, with music, what you're trying to do is relate with people. And, it just depends on what degree of relatability you're trying to aim for. Like, if you throw in a Drake song, that's like a guaranteed win in a set. Like, everybody's going to recognize that for the most part. It's going to go off, flip it into any genre, house, D&B, whatever the hell. And people are going to love it because people know what the original is like, and then they hear this twist on it. There's a degree of relatability to it, so they're invested in the song, and then it ends up being a slapper and you got their full attention. That's like really the winning combo when it comes to music. Make a fucking slapper and get people to give you their full dedicated attention and actually absorb the content. And I mean, that's the name of the game. So when it comes to remixes, like, any identifiable part you could find, like a vocal or a melody or even a sound or something that makes people think of something else, that's the gold nugget with remixes. I find is like easy, or I don't even want to say easy, but it's like very potent relatability, and I'd say that's a crucial part in actually like connecting with people with your music.
Yeah. And honestly, like having a remix of something that you like, that you drop in a set or whatever, like it's like an opportunity for you to like connect with the audience and show them like what your complete taste of music is more like, right? Like if you remix a song from another genre that you also know and love, or is like genre adjacent to yours, or that is like really influential to you, it's like an opportunity to kind of bring them into your world, what your headspace is like, and kind of like complete the picture of your set, right? Because if it's just originals, it can kind of be not one dimensional, because you can go all over the place with your own originals, but like throwing in the odd remix, like you said, it gets the crowd's attention, having that relatability, and also like an opportunity to like branch out and like give a broader picture of your taste and like a complete sense of like what you're doing, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I've seen that in your sets. I mean, like just this last one I saw at APOG, like dropping in a Linkin Park remix, dropping in the Evanescence remix, dropping in that a Rage Against the Machine remix, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that, it's like touch points, people that already
Yeah.
know like where that emotion and feel and vibe and sound is coming from, and it ties it in to what you're doing, and
Yeah.
lets us know like, oh yeah, like no wonder Rip Kenny sounds like this, because this is the stuff he also likes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
totally. Like I even remember like I was watching a Nero set at Shambhala, and he dropped this, like it was definitely like his own personal edit that I haven't heard anywhere else. And I scour the internet for Nero's music, so I would have seen it if it got released. But it was like an edit of some like 80s like rock metal. It wasn't classic rock, and I forget exactly I know what it sounds like in my head, but I would butcher it if I tried to come up with a name right now. But it was like not what you'd expect like musically from them, but like this, it was such a moment in the set. And like he was just going fucking nuts. I think it was Dan, Joe, and Elena weren't there, and like he was just going fucking nuts. And it was like one of the most memorable parts of the set. And for Nero, whose sound is like pretty defined, to have something like that that jumped out and then had like a drop that was like very Nero, but that fit the vibe of that song. It was like, it really felt like a complete picture of what they were doing. It was like like I said, one of the most memorable moments of the set, and like really like a great example of remixing a song from a different genre into your style, to like, really take a different spin on it and grab people's attention. But let's jump into the question. Can you repeat the question again that kind of sparked this whole thing?
So the whole question is, not sure if you've covered this one, but maybe how to remix a song to a different genre. Pretty broad. I think you know, it doesn't seem like Dead Connection had like a super specific question in mind. It just
Yeah,
generally
totally.
wanted the topic of remixing covered, and we have not covered this one
Yeah,
yet.
we haven't
So
talked
Yeah.
about this
great
at all. This is
question.
perfect.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Shout out.
I remember a quote from Flume early on in my electronic music production stages where he was basically like, if I'm doing a remix, unless I can take the song and do something like different with it, like have my own like different unique spin on it, like I won't even do it, right? Um which always kind of stuck with me, right? Like because it makes sense if you think about it. Like if you're not going to like flip it and like have something else to say about that piece of art, like it's not that there's no use for it, but like the why is less strong, right? There's less of a pull towards it if you're not like having something to add to the conversation with that remix, right? So that always stuck with me. Like if I'm going to do a remix, it's something that I'm going to like take and put my own unique spin on it. Like I'm not going to do a similar thing to what's already done. Which is kind of like the thesis of this question, like how do you remix something into a different genre? I mean, for me, it's less about like thinking about what genre I want to remix something into and more like finding a song. And this is for me, like as it relates to my artist project. So like just doing a remix in a different genre, like you'll have a different answer. But for me, if I'm gonna remix a song, it's one that I've found that like I really like parts of, but I can hear like my take on it. Like I can feel it working, right? Which is something that I think a lot of people can relate to when they have inspiration to do a remix. But one thing that I would say is like just like what already hasn't been done with that song, right? So like when I'm remixing a Linkin Park song or an Evanescence song or a My Chemical Romance song, like the focus of that remix, like even though most of my music has like a lot of guitars in it, because the original was like a rock song, like I'm not going to write new guitars. I'm actually going to write a more electronic sounding song to remix a rock tune than I would write for an original, because like I'm not going to try and do the guitars better. I'm going to try and do something else. I'm going to reimagine like a more bass music flavor of what that song is. But because the association is the rock song and the vocal is recorded for a rock song, it's still going to have that embedded within it, right? So that's like the first thing from me that's really like just think about like how you can add your own unique flavor to that song, and that's really like the genesis of why that remix is going to be good in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that, especially the knowing the why part, because
Yeah.
I think there's multiple ways to go about it, right? Like if you're just looking for something that's like a DJ tool and maybe the drop is totally disconnected from the intro, but it's cool because it works live and that's all you want it for, then that's totally cool. But you know, I definitely think there's like an art to remixing and preserving the original song. And I love what you're saying about you know, contrast and like not doing the same thing the other artist did. But I think you know, it's like a little more nuanced than that, and I'm sure you're even you know, it's probably so embedded in your process, but you're still preserving certain elements of the
Oh, yeah.
original and then, you know, transposing that to other instruments or doing
Yeah.
whatever to it. But just that idea of like motifs and what kind of motifs are embedded in this track and what is the notable thing here? Is it the vocal line? Is it the lyrics? Is it the melody? And let's say it's the melody. Maybe can I transpose that to another synth or play that on a guitar or do something? You know, any like really notable, like if you remixed let's say Seven Nation Army, right? Like you could play that on anything.
Yeah.
The melody's really the key part that's going to get people's attention versus a track like, I don't know, anything notable vocally. Don't Stop Believing or something. If you drop out the song and then you start playing that, or even that piano bit is so iconic, right? Like a song can have multiple of these
Hooks.
core motifs, but yeah, and hooks too. Like, but I'm thinking like,
The
what
hook isn't
makes
just
the
the
essence
words,
of
right?
the
It's
song?
like the thing that people remember and relate to.
The thing that
You
grabs
know,
you.
like it
Totally.
could be a rhythm, it could be a melody, it could be a chord progression, it could be a lyric. You know, like there's a lot of different ways to hook somebody into a song. And like I think that's what you're saying boils down to. What I'm hearing is like,
Yeah, I mean,
think
it could
about
also be like a
why you
chord
love this
progression or
song and why
something, too.
people love this song, and make sure you use that in the remix. Otherwise, what's the point of just like, you know, otherwise it's more of like a sample than a remix.
Yeah.
Like if you're
Yeah.
taking something and flipping it and you're like, oh, now they don't know what it is. That's really cool and skillful and turns out great a lot of the time. But that's more like sampling and flipping than it is about remixing. I want to talk a little bit about like the different types of remixing. Like, you know, anybody can do like a bootleg, right? You know, where you like take the intro, or, you know, maybe take the verse and chorus and then just like slap a drop onto it, you know? Like that's, I think, one of the simplest, most accessible ways, because all you need is like an MP3 or hopefully a wave, high quality version of that file, and then you can just like slap anything you want, any kind of drop or, you know, whatever onto it. And then there's like the type where maybe you find the acapella online. You know, maybe they put out the acapella on the original vinyl, or maybe somebody, you know, got the instrumental and did a phase inversion. They don't usually sound as good, but sometimes they do. Like I just did I found that I still got to release this, but I found the Kanye Stronger acapella and put it on a Kermode track, and that one is fucking killing it live.
Certified club banger.
Yeah, right.
Dude, I've always been so like impressed how many like acapellas actually exist in the world. Like how many people working at the studio just like backdoored the fucking vocal onto LimeWire back in the day, and it's like still floating around. Like how the fuck does that happen so often? Like it's crazy to me. Actually, a couple of the acapellas that I used for instance, the Linkin Park remix, apparently some guy found out how to deconstruct any Guitar Hero song, because they have to have the parts separated for that, and like uploaded basically any acapella that you can play on Guitar Hero.
Amazing.
Kind of interesting. But yeah, I'm always shocked at how many acapellas exist in the world through different means, and like the technology to extract the vocals only getting better. So if you're looking to remix something, just like dig a little deeper, you'll probably find it.
What's that site? I think it's splitter.ai.
Splitter. Yeah.
But the actual site version is splitter.ai, and it's built off of Splitter.
Nice.
There's a couple other ones. Man, another really cool tool. Let me see if I can find it here. It's Google AI that takes in like a vocal line or something, and then it can turn it into like a sax line, a string line, blah blah blah, and it like articulates like with the voice formants. Is really cool.
Man, yeah,
I have to find this. It's so dope for remixing.
Yeah, that sounds super sick. Yeah, I definitely want to know about this. You know, so there's like those various kinds of like bootleg and mashup types of styles that you can do, where, you know, you don't need stems. You know, maybe you got an acapella, maybe you just use the whole track, right? But then there's like the official remix, you know, where you got the stems somehow. And usually that's either they like put out a remix contest, or maybe you know the person, you know, somehow. And, you know, it's like the dojo, you know, it's like, you know, there's so many dope people in the dojo with 6 songs. We, you know, pretty soon here coming out with the remix of Dojo Classic EP that me and Shoes got a Spider Hound remix on. Rip Kenny has a 6th Street and Liz Bezler remix. Sixth Street and Slow Form. And what was the last person? I haven't met that last person, but
Catawampus?
Catawampus. Yeah, thank you.
Oh,
All of
he's
them
dope.
got different Ill Gates remixes that they're dropping on that. So that EP is going to be fire. And, that one, those, they put out the stems for the particular contest. And, granted, like, none of those songs are as famous as a Drake song. So, like, on the one hand, it's like, okay, there's going to be less people Googling Ill Gates Cthulhu remix than, Drake God's Plan remix on YouTube. But the cool thing is, Katie got the pristine, perfect quality stems to work with for that song. So whichever parts she chose to keep are 100%, the stems. There's no weird phase issues that she's got to fight when she starts that. Or like when we did the Do It For Me remix, the Sam Shoemaker track that I produced. And then again, Slow Form and Rip Kenny and No Breaks and that Muncher remix, all super fire, super different, but all, started with that clean acapella. And, I don't know if anybody actually used any of the beat stems in that one. I think everybody just used the acapella. But they got the extremely clean acapella and they got to do an official remix. So, there's like pros and cons to whether or not you're doing a bootleg or an official remix. The official remix you can actually release, get it out on Spotify and everywhere. The bootleg probably got to confine it to Spotify, or to SoundCloud and YouTube, and you might get demonetized on that particular track, depending on how close it is and if the algorithm can detect it. But but then more people are looking for it and you get your name out there. So, there's a bunch of right answers for how to remix and why to remix. But, consider those when you're going. But I think, regardless of all those pros and cons, the main thing is what Rip Kenny was talking about a minute ago. You need to hear something of how you're going to flip this. Like, I like this piece, but I would have done XYZ to it.
Yeah, exactly.
And, if you don't have that inspiration, what's the point of doing the remix?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's the whole thing of like how to remix into a different genre. I mean, it's the same as like making any music ever. There's no rules, right? But if you're going to remix it into a different genre, the answer is almost in the question, right? Because like remixing into a different genre is like you've already basically accomplished the goal, right? You're taking a different spin on it. So like how to do it, like figure out how to stretch the vocal or take whatever motif like Tesco was talking about, find the piece that is the signature of the track, and then just figure out how you can flip it into the stylings of that genre, right? There's no rules, right? You just gotta you gotta like trust your intuition. One thing I was thinking about, would you guys agree that like there's just kind of a certain magic in remixing like a song that, for instance, like a Linkin Park song or something like that. There's like more magic in remixing something like that because you can't release it. Like it's mostly only going to be heard at like shows and stuff. And then like there's, at least for me, all the songs that I've like scoured the internet to find are like remixes of, for instance, like that Rage Against the Machine remix. I like heard it live and then I like scoured the internet for it because it was just like I fucking love that song and the remix went super hard and I was like, oh my God, I need to find that. I need that. Like there's just like such a draw to those songs which like connect worlds and like combine your tastes and you're like, I never thought someone would also have the same interest in this and this and they made this connection. And it's like there's just like something about those remixes that has like a gravitational pull.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like kind of familiar but not fully. It's like nostalgia, but you're still excited for what's about to come. Like I think you're just recalling on all these like memories and emotions and whatever you have with the original, and then you have this other thing which is a different flavor to it, and it's separate from this first thing you heard. There's also too, remixes where they're just better than the original, and you're like, that is what the song should have been.
Oh man.
But yeah, man, I think that part on your why is like the most important, because like if you for example, like a Linkin Park remix, like exactly who you're hitting with a remix like that. It's not like you just Googled acapella pack, picked one, threw it into it. It's like when you pick a Linkin Park song, you're going in with a clear purpose. And I think a lot of the magic that you're talking about is, one, not having a blank slate to start from. There's a very clear kind of path and direction you can go towards. And two, it's like you're inspired because you love the song and you feel so powerfully towards it, if you're doing it right. But it's a jumping point. And I think too, it's like coming from a background where you'd like play in bands, and now to being more of like a solo act where it's like you control most of the creativity. It is really, really refreshing when you can just get the ingredients from somebody else, the couple riffs, the sick ass drums, the vocals are already fucking perfect and emotive, don't require any extra work, and then you just focus on one task. Insane how easy shit comes together. Dude, and how amazing it sounds.
That's so true. Like some of my favorite songs that I've made that were like, that I think sound really great, were like the easiest to make. Like those are the ones that like yeah, maybe that is part of the magic. Like because you already have the best parts figured out, that like an incredible vocal and chords that work incredibly well underneath those, you're like, the hardest part's already done, and then you just get to have fun like reimagining how it would work, right? Like that's actually a really good point, because that's honestly my favorite way to work, is starting with the vocal and then like reharmonizing it and then making a drop, right? And you don't have to edit the vocal, you don't have to fuck with it, you can chop it up however you like. It already sounds good.
Totally. I got a question for you guys too. Do you ever see a remix? Like I feel not for everyone obviously, but for like, let's say Linkin Park, a band that has left such an impression on me, and I'm sure you guys and then the rest of the world. When you see something like a Linkin Park remix, you're like, who the fuck does this person think they are remixing Linkin Park? Let me check this shit immediately and see if they're worthy. Yeah, and then bam, another play. And if it's dope, it's a couple plays.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely thought that. The more I evolve as a producer and an artist and a creative, the less I have those kinds of thoughts. I think the less I have those thoughts of who do I think I am, the less I have those thoughts of who do you think you are. It's as above, so below.
I'm kidding, of
everything's
course,
a reflection. Yeah. No, you feel me though, right? Like,
yeah,
but it is a really good point, because sometimes like you said, if the song is already perfect to you, why remix it? Just play it in your set. Whereas if it's like, oh, this is filthy, but I would have gone a different way, or this is dope, but like it couldn't work in my style of DJ set, then those are really good reasons to remix it. But yeah, like you see a song you love and you're like, I need to know how somebody flipped this shit.
Yeah. Like if I was more of a meme producer, which honestly we should do this for Rave Gravy, Luke. Yeah, I would remix a bunch of Michael Jackson songs, just so I can get people going, you can't remix Michael Jackson. He's the GOAT, man. You can't. He's the best. You can't do Michael Jackson remixes.
Could you imagine a full set of Michael Jackson with bass music? That actually, like,
oh man,
be so fire.
But
yeah,
like,
okay, well, new mission in life.
The offbeat chants are gonna be out of this world, dude. All the Michael Jackson grunts and shit, like unlimited chance.
Damn, we should have just all started projects trolling passionate communities of other.
Yeah, oh my god, like fucking gigantic base of free marketing that is viral, because when people are angry, they want to show other people how angry they are.
Right? Oh, by the way,
there are so many results. When you Google Michael Jackson a cappella, Smooth Criminal, Man in the Mirror, Who Is It, The Way You Make Me Feel, Beat It, Bad, Human Nature, Billie Jean. That's just the
Human
top
Nature's
page.
a banger.
Right?
Yo, I figured out the thing is called the thing is called tone transfer. So
Tone
people should go download
transfer.
those Michael Jackson acapellas and throw them into tone transfer.
Oh, that's the thing that takes an acapella and creates a. Is it like a MIDI line?
Actually, it looks like it takes in quite a few sources. It could take in percussive sources, whatever. It's got acapella, singing, birds chirping, carnatic singing, cello performing.
What's
pots
carnatic
and
singing?
pans clanging. Let's see. It's a woman going da 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 da.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then you can. Damn, it sounds fire as a saxophone. Sounds very
Wait,
ethnic.
does it output audio only?
I mean, it takes in audio and outputs other audio.
Yeah,
I think you're asking if it gives you MIDI.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't think
Probably
so.
not, based on how you're talking about it.
No, it actually like takes in audio and resynthesizes it into new audio.
That's dope.
Like it needs the initial source
and it's
to
free?
like feed into the machine learning thing. Yeah, it's Google based thing, you know?
Hmm.
You know, Google taking over the world slowly, one day at a time.
So
Sorry, what?
anything you record into there?
Google what? What is this thing?
Anything you
newfangled
record into there,
technology?
they're secretly using for some sort of voice integration software, and your voice is going to be part of some robot AI that's going to be on their next phone.
They're gonna deep fake you.
I heard apparently every time you do those captchas, you're like helping train a machine learning library.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's like, why else would they need us to know how many stop signs are in this picture or how many fucking, like, it's clearly training self-driving cars, right?
Son of
Well,
a
isn't
bitch.
it? Oh, that's such a good point. But isn't it weird too how they're like, prove you're not a robot by performing this task so we can teach robots how to identify these things in the future?
Yep.
Right.
Irony.
Wow.
Also, so basically the thing tone transfer, it looks like it's in collaboration with Google. Oh, it's Google's new machine learning algorithm, but it uses Magenta, which is just like an open source just machine learning audio thing. And it looks like there's other really cool shit being done with it, like transcribing pianos with neural networks, creating new sounds generated with machine learning. Like
I'm gonna derail our train just like really quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long do you guys think it is before machine learning will just be able to write popular music styles?
I think
with
it's
a press
already
of a button,
possible.
right?
I think right now, the one thing I cannot see being programmed, and maybe, I guess if you had a large enough sample size and you trained a machine learning network on it, blah, blah, blah. But then even still, people are going to be revered for their innovation because of machine learning network. I mean, I guess unless you code it to deviate from norms.
Right. Actually,
But I don't
holy
know.
shit.
I'm like,
So
you're
there's
really a
actually-
tastemaker more than you are a producer and chord progression maker and all this other shit.
There's
You just
actually
pick parts to go together.
There's like a Pandora equivalent that actually already fucking does this. I don't know why I didn't think of this. There's already like I need to figure out what the name is, but there's already a thing that's like Pandora, and you type in like, I want to listen to deep house, and it has like a gigantic database of like loops or something or samples or presets in a synth or something, and it like literally generates unlimited deep house songs for you to listen to. I listened to it one time. It was all between C and B plus music, but it was passable. I mean, like, how long is it going to be before they're writing like absolute bangers? I don't know. That's the thing though. Like, I feel like that service would have already taken off if more people gave a shit about having that, right? Like, the discussion is like, how long until musicians are just replaceable because a machine can play anything that it wants in any amount of complexity at any time signature BPM first try, right? But like, the why has gone completely out the window. Like, why would I give a fuck? I don't, even if it's like so good, Like if it's like something a computer made, like am I going to connect with it? If I didn't know that it was made by a computer and I loved it and I later found out it was made by a computer, I would feel like dirty. I would feel like oh man, like my circuits are broken. Like what the fuck? Like I don't know. Like would people listen to that? Do you think they would care?
Well, have you seen like generative art, like
Yeah.
imagery and stuff? Sites
Yeah,
like
it's pretty
Art Breeder.
trippy.
Yeah, where it's
Art
like
Breeder.
it all looks familiar, but it doesn't at the same time. And I feel like, because when I think about music being made, and I think about concepts like checkerboarding and mixing, and then not only are you writing these parts, but then also you're doing automation on top, maybe like a reverb throw, maybe this or that. To us, there's cohesiveness when we create that kind of stuff because, you know, a reverb throw sounds a certain way, but intuitively you use it a certain way. And so the way the result comes together is a lot more thought through. Whereas I'm sure a machine learning thing could calculate all of these textures and tones and blah, 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 and try to apply that to music. But would it actually be able to intelligently incorporate automation and stuff like that? Or would it
Right.
just come out into this like jumbled mess of vagueness? And I wonder really how limited technology is in that kind of uncanny valley area where it's like, man, it's just like you said, if I like this, my circuits feel broken because it's like it just feels wrong. So I'm not worried about it anytime soon, honestly, because I think there's so many factors that go into, you know, taste making and sound selection and intelligent choices, you know, to really tie everything together. And I don't
Fucking
see how,
emotion.
unless a
lyricism.
program was like going through every single aspect of production, you know, like generating
Yeah.
lyrics, generating chord progressions, blah, 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 and had a way to check that everything works together.
And then
I don't
mix it together like professionally. Like I'm
Pick good patches. Which,
Yeah, like-
I mean, AI is
Just
getting pretty good at being a mixing assistant already. I don't know how
But do you
far
think-
away
what
we
do you
are
think
for
of-
it to be a
I mean,
mixing professional.
that's a whole rabbit hole.
Yeah, but like a lot of
Fuck Landry,
mixing
though.
is picking the right sounds to start with, right? So unless you've machine learned, but then you only have like a set library of shit it can pick from, because then you're like, this batch of stuff works well together, and so does this batch, and you can use this from this batch and this from this batch, but not them together, right? Then like all of it is eventually going to reach a point where it sounds the same, unless you can also machine learn how to create patches, analyze their tonal signature and where they sit, and then figure out compositionally what elements work good together, and then it can create stuff from scratch to make
Yeah.
that. But the amount of like coding, I'm sure it's possible.
mean, yeah,
Ultimately, I
think,
think
like-
that I'm not really worried
I
about
don't-
it,
yeah.
because I don't think, like I said, I just don't think anyone's going to give a shit.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I
if
think
technology gets that good, we'll probably be dead because they would have taken over.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Be like
I
exactly.
mean, robots will be left to listen to it. All hail Skynet. Fucking. But I mean, like, you know, like machine learning is powerful. You know, like I met the dude who made Lander mastering. Like I met him at a party in LA.
No way.
And just hey, what's up? What's your name? Oh, hey, yeah, I'm so and so. Oh, what do you do? Oh, like, well, I'm a mastering engineer, and I also invented Lander. Like, what? He's like, yeah,
I
it's
still
fucking-
stand by fuck Lander, but I'm sure the guy was chill.
I mean, he
Just
was
wanna
really
put that
chill.
out
I
there.
mean, and I know a lot of people say fuck Lander, but I don't feel that way, because I feel like, think about it as you're a producer that knows how to make beats and knows that you're not going to be the engineer on the final record and doesn't want to spend a shit ton of money on mastering plugins or money to give a mastering engineer just to master your instrumental so it's loud enough for an artist to listen to and write to, right? Where it's just like, look, I need to get this cleanly from fucking, you know, negative 15 LUFS to negative 9 LUFS, and I don't know how, and I can pay $10 a month for this machine to do it for me. It's not as good as a professional mastering engineer who can like really feel it out, but it's way better than me fucking it up and just squashing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's
Yeah.
really, it's a really good tool for people that need it to be exactly what it actually is.
No,
And I
totally.
know a lot
There's
of
a
people who
place for
use
it,
it,
for sure.
and like people win beat battles off of that shit. If your mix is good, the mastering on Lander is going to be pretty solid.
Well, hold on though. If you know how to mix, you sure as fuck can master something.
Yeah,
Like, even if
not
my
everybody
first thought too
knows
is like,
that.
even if you don't know what the fuck you're doing, you don't even know what mixing is or an EQ, like put Pro L on there and turn the gain up.
That's what
and,
I'm
like,
saying.
until you get 60 B's of reduction, and then like past that, if your mix sucks, you're not gonna
Yeah.
be able to pull it off anyway. So like,
Look, for anyone that wants to send me $10 to slap a Pro L on it and support
Yeah,
the
dude.
podcast,
Actually,
links in the description.
send
You
me
send
$20
me $9
and I'll run
and
it through.
I'll run it
my
through Lander.
I'll run it
Lander
through
for
my test master chain that is more than just a Pro L for $20, but $10 hit your boy Tesco.
Yo,
I have
that's
to
funny
adjust
as hell.
one knob. I have to adjust
It's
2 knobs.
it's
Yo,
funny
Luke,
though.
you're on some 500 IQ shit.
It's funny though, man, because like I mean, like I feel you guys on Lander. Like it's not the best thing at mastering. I am a better mastering engineer than Lander because I can stop and discern what's going on as opposed to just run them all through the same algorithm. For example, Bounce Gang, my crew that I was working with, decided to put out an instrumental album. And so we got like 15 different producers with 15, everybody mixed their own tune. So it had 15 different mixing styles. Shit came in at different luffs and different amounts of headroom, different amounts of bass and treble. And they were like, oh, yeah, one of the guys has a Lander account. We'll just run it all through Lander. And I was in charge of finishing the product. So I was like, all right, let me do an experiment because I'm curious. I ran the whole album through Lander, listened back, and was like, it's okay, but I'm not actually satisfied with this. And then I went and I ran everything through my chain and just did little micro adjustments where it's like, oh, to fit with the rest of these tracks, this one needs a little notch where the snare is harsh and like a little shelf where the sub is hot, and like little things like that, just those like little things that I did to it, and like making sure from where they started to where they ended, they all hit the same lufs target, like really helped. And like I listened to the two, each song back to back, and I was like, yeah, I'm much happier with what I did. But then again, I've mastered a bunch of songs of my own, some for other people, and I've got a bunch of practice. And I spent the money on like the Fab Filter bundle. So like, I get it. If you don't want to do all of that and you just want to fucking make your beats louder so that a rapper won't be like, oh, this sounds shitty, then yeah, rock on, go get Lander. But for real,
but also like Kenny Beats even says, don't master your shit when you're sending it to an artist because you want it to be quiet enough for them to fuck it. Like if they turn their speakers all the way up, like it shouldn't be so loud that they can't like hear themselves over it. Like there should be space for it. But I totally
on
agree.
the other hand though, like if you're sending it to them and they're in the studio and they want to record to it right now, then their engineer doesn't have to do that one extra step of turning it down. But like they're probably going to get track outs too if that song's coming out. And like if you send it to them and they're trying to write on their iPhone speaker and the shit's at fucking -20 lufs, they're not going to be able to even hear the snare. So it's that's rough. Yeah. Like trying to like you're at the max volume and you're like, I still don't know what's going on in this song. Next fucking producer, this shit's whack. Because everybody else turned their shit up. And especially even if you just slam it into Pro L, it's still going to be better than not, I think.
And like, yeah, you're right. Like if you're listening to a bunch of beats back to back and all of a sudden one's like hella quiet, like it's not going to knock and they're going to be like, yeah, pass. I feel like Lander, if it combined some sort of like EQ matching technology where like you input your favorite rap song and then you put your unmastered rap song in there and say master my rap song and make it tonally like this one, that couldn't be that hard, right?
Doesn't Isotope like already do that shit where you can like
I'm sure
tonal matching and I don't remember.
Do they do the
like Neutron and whatever? Like
do they auto master?
I don't think it auto masters, but they do have like the AI mix assist.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like combine the two.
Yeah,
combine the two, and you can get a beginner that actually has like a cracking beat.
Yeah. Yeah, all that. But hey, this is the Human Music Podcast. We've been talking about robots for too damn long.
Beep boop.
And we're supposed to be talking about remixes, not mastering. You know what I'm saying? I just want to let's get us back on. This is a good conversation, but let's get back on track here for the rest of the pod.
Yeah, I did not intend to derail more than 5 minutes of
It's okay.
conversation, but
People need to
always-
master their
we
remixes
always have longer
too.
tangents than we thought.
I'm
Don't put your
probably
remix out unmastered.
I'm probably the tangent guy on this podcast. I like tangents. Tangents.
Yeah,
The Human
leads it.
Tangent Podcast.
Yeah,
just
for
just
sure.
like music written by a human is more interesting because there's the human quality. Tangents just have more human quality. to
Yeah,
them.
that's the point of a podcast, you know. We could edit this shit down and have it really specific, but nah, fuck that. You're just gonna listen to us ramble for an hour, and it's gonna be dope. But yeah, let's
Facts.
finish out with some actual lessons you've learned from actual remixes you did. Any techniques that have specifically worked or specifically not worked. Let's give some actionable advice to close out here. Anybody
Yeah.
got any starters?
I got a really good one.
Ooh.
Shout out Il Gates.
You.
I love his approach of when it comes to remixes, bring the stems into your project, delete what you're not going to use, and then just have a session where you use those stems to generate a bunch more parts and basically run mud pies on those stems. I think that's the absolute best way to keep the core of the remix intact, and then right from the start create a whole bunch of content that relates to those most potent parts of the song, and then fit everything else in around that.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I find, if you grab something that's way too left field, you can definitely make it work and really, flip that style. But even still, it requires one of those original elements to keep it a good remix. So the earlier on you have those parts, the more you can, start fitting them in and get that subconscious mind thinking of oh, this would be a good little transition bit. Oh, this would be a good little reverse thing here. Oh, I could make this into something.
Yeah.
All that I feel
absolutely.
like makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I'm actually a really big fan of, even if the song doesn't turn out that great, I'm a really big fan of the challenge of doing a remix using as many of the original pieces as possible. A lot of people would just take the vocal, remake all their own sounds around it, which is also dope. No shade to that, but I do love personally the challenge of okay, what if I were only using this set of sounds? What could I make with it? And I know the Herbalistic EP just came out on the Dojo,
Fire.
the Nature Grooves,
Super fire.
super dope, right? And it's got 3 sick remixes on it. I also submitted a remix to that I really like. But by the time I got mine finished, Dylan was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna level with you. I think we've got so many dope ones, and I think I've already got the 3, and yours still needs a little work, so I wouldn't worry about it." But that was actually my philosophy on that. I sped it up a little bit, and I changed the drum groove from kind of a halftime 90 BPM to a full-time reggaeton moombaton vibe, and used all of their sound design as the face of the remix, because none of those songs have any vocals in them. And so, normally the key clear piece that you would use as the face of the track wasn't there. So it was okay, well, what do I do to keep it their track? Well, I guess I'll just use all of their sounds. And I'm still going to I'm going to drop that one live and shit, but it's probably just going to be my own private bootleg unless I get permission to release it.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. If there's no clear hook, it's kind of a sound designy bass song with no vocal or anything, remixing that is actually a lot harder. I actually think, now thinking back, I listened through the Herbalistic Stems when that remix opportunity came out, and I was like, I don't really hear what I would do with it. And so I just didn't make a remix, right? Because that shit would have been really hard to figure out how to make it sound like a remix of a song that I didn't have a clear this
Why?
is the thing, and work from that, right? That's actually a lot more difficult.
Yeah, that was the first thing that went through when I was listening to those tunes. Also, like, what am I going to keep of this? It's really filthy, but there wasn't like
Yeah.
one theme. Like their style of
Mhm.
music is really sound design based, and it's filthy and it's interesting and it keeps on changing as the song goes. It like doesn't like repeat a lot of shit, and which is extremely sick in a live situation because when you're standing there headbanging and melting face, you don't want to get bored by the track. But like it does make it more of a challenge to remix because there's not that clear like, oh, obviously keep this piece, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, when it comes to lessons learned for remixing, one thing that I ran into myself, because early on, like before I had any business like thinking my music was good, I was doing some remix contests because in my infinite wisdom, I read that winning remix contests was a great way to get your name out there. There was no way I was ever gonna win, like fucking a year in. Like I had no idea what I was doing. But
It's an
I've
excuse to keep yourself moving and, you know, have a deadline. I think that's like really good practice.
yeah,
Like,
true,
because that's the
100%.
best thing about remix contests is they have an end date. See, oh shit, I can't work on this forever.
That's
Yeah,
true.
that's actually a
That's such a
really
good
good
point.
point because, like, my first, like, I've said on this podcast, the first song I ever made took 3 months, and I didn't work on anything else. And like having a set deadline that, like, no, you can't keep changing the bass patch and melody like every 2 days you work on the track. Super helpful. But one thing that I realized that was not a good practice for remixing when I was doing those is that, like, just like what you said, where, if Dylan's suggestion for doing a remix is you bring all the stems in, delete what you don't want to use, and then like make new stuff from there. I would bring all the stuff in and be like, I like this, I like this, I like this, I like this. This is cool. This is cool. And then I would leave all the rest in there. And then like inevitably you get to a point where you're stuck like writing the song, or you don't have an idea for the pluck in the background or whatever. And you're just like, what did they use? And you grab the stem that was like whatever the thing in the background was. And you're like, yeah, obviously this works. I'm going to use
Mhm.
this. And then what you end up doing is just making a shitty,
Edit.
watered down version of the original rather than like really truly making something your own of it. Like, even if you have a different like lead melody thing of like 7 of the other 10 parts are the same, like you really didn't have a lot else to say on that piece of music. Just because you made an 8-minute trance edit of a trance song that was already 3.5 minutes doesn't mean it was better
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
even worth listening to at all.
Nah, I feel
Oof.
that. I've definitely seen a lot of those on remix contests. Where it's like, oh, well, I made it really long and really boring. Congratulations.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember I remember listening to in one in particular, there's this Gareth Emery remix contest, and this is the one that where I'm talking about. I made an 8-minute trance song using a bunch of the same stuff. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Hmm.
I remember thinking it was like hella good, and then I had a shot at winning. Yeah.
oh yeah.
And I remember listening to the guy that won, and then like the other top 4 like upvoted songs in the contest, and I was like, should I just quit? Like, oh my God. Like, the guy that won was like this incredible melodic dubstep remix. It was all like Seven Lions style. It was so sick. And then the guy that got like second was like a psytrance like remix. And they both did exactly what I was talking about, had their own spin and a different flavor that was like super unique, and it was all polished sounding. And I was just like, oh man, there's that might have been the moment. That might have been the moment where I reached the top of that first trajectory on the Dunning-Kruger curve, where I realized, oh fuck, maybe I am just a little shrimp in an ocean. Oh God.
Oh, humility. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
for
yes.
sure. Let's talk about another really good way to approach a remix, and it comes from the EDM Cookbook. That sample flip recipe is a super dope way to approach a remix. You can take any tune, and we'll have a link to this in the show notes. But Ill Gates devised these recipes that give you like step-by-step instructions for how to make different types of tracks. And it's really powerful. And the sample-based recipe, you start with whatever the sample is and you find cool bits of it and chop them onto a drum rack and then make loops of the chops, rearranging those chops, and you make however many sections you can make, whatever, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sections, and then figure out like, all right, what does this feel like? Oh, this part feels like the intro. This part feels like a build up. This part feels like it could be the drop, and then build the rest of your elements around that. And I think that's a really good way to start, where you're just like, how many different ways can I flip the original material and rearrange it so that it's recognizable yet also fresh? I think like that balance is really important, and opening with that instead of like, okay, let me like make a drop and then slap a tune on front of it. Like, let me make a bunch of different pieces that work from the source material and then arrange around that. I'm a big fan of that shit. I want to get back into doing that. I haven't done one of those in a while.
Man,
I don't have much to add. That shit just works as is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, sampling is a cheat code, man. Like anytime I'm stuck trying to come up with shit, I'm like, why am I trying so hard? Just find a really good sample, and it's a good way to bring yourself back to just having fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like I said, that'll be down there in the links. We got anything else to say? Feels like we covered a lot of good stuff.
Man, yeah.
I think in general, just think about making your music like a human would make it, and
not like a robot.
Put your own human music stamp on your human music.
Yeah. Make sure you slap your own Pro L preset instead of paying for land.
Or just use the fucking whatever limiter comes with your DAW, man. Just crank that shit up until it sounds like shit, and then turn it down a little bit.
Put gain plus 10 and save yourself $10.
If you don't know how to master,
get into the approach. You know what I'm saying? Go learn from Seth Drake and actually do it right. Oh, link.
I mean, you definitely should do that. But if you have $0 and you have a pirated copy of your music production software on your computer, just put the thing that says limiter in the audio effects on the master channel. Turn it up till your song sounds like shit, and then turn it back down a little bit. There's your mastering.
And then send us $10.
And then send Tesco $10. And then when you're like, I really want the pro shit version, then send it to me for 20, and I'll run it through slightly more plugins.
All right, humans. With that, peace. Peace among worlds.
Peace among worlds. Fuckers.
Woo. All right, humans. Luke Rain signing out. Appreciate y'all listening to it. Smash the like, the subscribe, and all that good shit. Leave us a comment, share, all that stuff that helps us find more people that can listen to us. Shouts to Dead Connection. Cheers. For helping us with this dope question he left as a YouTube comment. If you got an idea for an episode, leave us a YouTube comment or send us an email at thehumanmusicpodcast@gmail.com or add us at thehumanmusicpodcast on Instagram or TikTok or at humanmusicpod on Twitter. All right, shouts to the song of the week, Rip Kenny's remix of Choose by 6th Street and Liz Bezler. You're hearing it now. Go bump it. Those links are down below. There's the EDM Cookbook. That's one of our sponsors. We talked about it today. Dojo TV, where you can get some free classes. The weekly download, where you can learn from Ill Gates for only $20 a month. Oh, wow. And then guest practices, where you can learn from Seth Drake at the Approach Institute. He's the best engineer we know, for real. And the first class over there is free. You will not be sad you did that shit. Yeah. See you next week, humans. Peace. Peace among worlds.
I like it.